Hi, this is Mark from An American in Russia, and today I'd like to start by telling you why I suck as a YouTuber. Oh, broadcasting from Studio B. Well, first I'd like to point out some of the constructive criticism I received from part 1 of this video. Why was the door open behind you? It was distracting as hell. You don't move your hands around at all when you speak. It looks freaky. You are only using 2 cameras, yet you are looking at neither of them when you speak. Well, these are all valid points, and I do appreciate the fact that some of my viewers share these with me. I mean that, truly. I'll immediately work on 2 of these, like the door, and quickly explain why at this time I can't take care of the others. First of all, it's really hard, or in my case impossible, to remember everything I want to speak about for the next 10 minutes. So I use a sort of teleprompter thing I rigged up, which reminds me of the stuff I want to say. Well, I program it, so they're my words, but I need to use a rather large Bluetooth keyboard. See, right here. Use that as my remote to control the teleprompter. And that's because my Kindle Fire, which that's where I have the notes on, is very old, and it's like Bluetooth version 3. It won't handle anything newer than that. The only thing I had that old was this old keyboard. Okay, so anyhow, the keyboard is in one of my hands, so I can't use this hand while filming, and it's unnatural for me to use only one hand for hand motions. You know what I mean? For me. The electronic writing is about 6 inches above my main camera, and that's why it appears that I'm not looking straight into the camera. Well, because I'm not. In about a month, I'll have a solution to these problems, and then I'll be staring directly at you, and also have the ability to flail my arms around when the mood moves me. Yeah, I think in a month or so, even if you move around your room when you're watching this, my eyes will seem to follow you. I'll show you freaky. Well, getting back into Russian universities, I ended part 1 by telling how helpful the university admissions people were in trying to navigate this process. And I mean it, they really were. Now, Russia has a state internet portal where every citizen can conduct state business from the comfort of their own living room or whatever room, wherever your computer is. This also includes the ability to apply to any university, any Russian university, completely online without any cost. Now, it may be different now, but back in the day when I was trying to apply for American universities, well, with my sons, the cost, it was about, I seem to remember $75 per application, maybe it was $35, but it was a lot at the time. Now, this may have changed. If so, and you know that this has changed, please let me know down below in the comments. Let me know how you go about it now. In addition to the state portal, you can also apply directly to each university online, which is what we chose to do. Our plan was to apply online directly to each university and then go to Moscow and meet with the first choice universities and bring the originals of any of the critical documents with us. The application process was quite straightforward, and the 2 universities that were our first choices both verified for us that all documentation was done correctly and received. There were actually 4 universities that we applied for, and all 4 responded to us in terms of the completeness of the applications. The deeper we were into this process, the more impressed I was by the players. There are a few nuances that I learned at that point. For example, if you were a winner or a placer in an Olympiad, you could only use that as the basis of entry with 1 university. And there's a database that they all use to assure that you were in fact a winner or placer of that Olympiad, and that you only use that win as a basis of entry for 1 university in terms of trying to get in as a budget student. In other words, to get a full scholarship, you typically had to be a winner. There were a few universities that would accept you as a winner or placer in some very specific Olympiads. This is done to force you to know ahead of time which university was your first choice. In other words, the universities do not want to be offering scholarships to the same person based on the same achievements. The other main document that the universities wanted was your original high school diploma in terms of an original. So we went to Moscow for several days and we met with the admissions people in the two universities which were our daughter's first choices. It was very informative speaking directly with them, and we gave each university all of the original documentation. Now, it is possible to give these originals later, but this would involve a very rushed trip again to Moscow. In other words, once they announced that they accepted you, you had to get them in there like within 3 days, all your originals, or you'd lose your place. Now, we were assured by the admissions people at each of these two universities that our daughters, based upon achievements, will be admitted as budget students. Remember, budget students means like a full scholarship. University costs. It doesn't include, the cost of your dorm or meals or anything of that nature. I don't think I can emphasize enough at how important these Olympiads can be in terms of getting into a good university. I mean, the state exams are also very important, but even if you did exceptionally well in the exams, it's not a guarantee of acceptance as a budget student. The competition is that fierce. However, the winners of Olympiads certainly have the scales tipped in their favor. If you're going to pay for your education, you're allowed to have lower scores on the state exams. And no Olympiads. Finally, after all of this was completed, we had to just wait for certain dates for the universities to post on their websites who the new students will be. We're waiting for the first list to appear, which was the list showing who will be admitted as budget students. Well, both of our daughters made it in as budget students, and we couldn't have been prouder of them. These were top-line Moscow universities, and we had both girls get in as budget students, two different universities. Of course, our stresses were not over yet. They were both going to go to Moscow universities, but where will they live? Well, Moscow is one of the most expensive capital cities of the world to live in. I mean, we can handle this, but where do you start and who do you trust? Well, God smiled down upon us again. Both girls, because they're budgetary students and live far from Moscow, were both given places in the university's dorms. These rooms are in very tight supply and high demand, but because of their scholastic performances, both of our daughters were now enrolled in a couple of very good Moscow top universities and also have places in the university's dormitories. Now, these spots are not free, but they are quite reasonably priced, especially when compared to apartments in Moscow. Plus, they would be living on campus. Well, forward through time, and a few weeks later, we were traveling by train to Moscow with our daughters along with several suitcases. Over the period of 3 days, we moved both daughters into their dorm rooms. They had check-in dates 2 days apart from each other, so we had to hang around. The universities are about 15-minute bus ride from each other, and so the girls promised to watch over each other as best as possible. This was important to us. It was a lonely ride home for my wife and me. The next several days were hard. I think perhaps harder for me in the respect that I'm retired and was used to being with the girls every day during the summer and before and after school during the school year. Now, only silence during those times. I felt a bit like a ghost going about my daily yard duties. Or maybe I'm just a whiner.
Blue dude, blue moon, kinda mysterious, shaded with someone I'm Do you need to fix it? Talking bullshit. It's hard to see you when your eyes look dull. Who's gonna save you? Who's gonna make you not blue? Not blue. Blue too. Bad mood. Sorta witty and jaded, but let's not talk about you.
Let's forward about 6 weeks. My wife and I traveled to Moscow and stayed there for about 4 days, just a couple weekends ago. We stayed near our daughters and enjoyed a lot of time with them during our stay. We would have one or both of them for lunch and dinner every day. I mean, hell, it was better and cheaper for them to eat with us at restaurants rather than buying and preparing their own meals. And we loved it. They had both slipped into Moscow life quite easily, though, although for me, it was a little bit busy there. Soon it came the day for us to head back to our old life and for our daughters to continue with their new lives. We met them, said our goodbyes, and then, poof, they were gone again.